And those of you that are on every week, of course, we appreciate you. This call is every other week, 2 p.m. East Coast and 11 a.m. West Coast, and all time zones in between. I do see all time zones represented. Sometimes we have guests on here. Sometimes y'all just get to hear from me. This week we have a guest who I will introduce in a minute. Housekeeping. This call is streamed live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And I know there's a lot of people watching on there as well, so welcome. And again, shout outs for at least 24 months to Mr. Lechko for the idea to turn every one of these into an audio podcast. So if you miss or if you heard something great and you just want to hear it again, you can always go to the Big Joel Show wherever you consume your podcasts, and there'll be an audio podcast of today's episode. I'm not sure exactly how long it takes Josh to put those up, but it doesn't take that long. But they are all in there. So
it'll be up this afternoon.
Okay, it'll be up this afternoon. So assume it'll be up by late today or tomorrow morning. You'll be good to go if you want to listen again or share. Also, for agents on the call right now, we do have another Agent Crush starting. There's more information on that on the website at bigjoel.com. We had great results from the group that just finished. That's a 3-month group. And those of you, there are some people on here that have been asking about the Loan Officer Crush. We do have one of those scheduled as well. All that information is on the website, bigjoel.com. Got Mr. Turner on the call today. Welcome. Okay, everybody. So it is, amazingly enough, April 15th. Of course, everyone has filed their taxes, and you guys all made so much money last year that you're getting massive returns. That was tongue in cheek. Some of you all had great years last year, and some of you all had a super tough year last year, including our guest, who will share, openly with his end of year last year. But I think, there's lots of conflicting noise in the market right now regarding interest rates and what the Fed says and doesn't say. And then, of course, what Chase says and what Wells Fargo says and what all the different people say. And I say, who cares? If you're operating your origination business waiting for the rates to drop, I think that's a big challenge anyway. You should not be operating like that. You should not be, watching the market 24/7, hoping the rates will drop 1/8 for you to conduct your business. I think we know that there's a lot of millennials out there that want to buy as soon as there are houses available. We have this NAR thing looming, which we won't talk about today because the bottom line is it's not signed off on yet. And I'm sure a bunch of you all are really dealing with that with your agent partners. And again, you should be a beacon of light for that. You should be consoling, talking to them. Only factual. You should not be hyperbolizing in any way. I'm noticing some of these people trying to get out in front of this and have events where you're telling the agents what's going to happen. I would probably advise against that unless you have a crystal ball, because again, this is not signed off on by the DOJ. And until the attorneys at all of the major real estate companies come together and decide how they're going to handle the final ruling, there really is not a lot to talk about because no one is operating any differently yet. And in fact, if the NAR settlement were to go through as proposed, 14 states are already completely operating like this, with the exception of the buy-side brokerage fee in the MLS, which is very easy to deal with. That's the same way it is in commercial real estate. So I would hope you're keeping people calm on that, and especially not doing a lot of posting on that social media. So today we have Mr. Pete Griffin with Movement Mortgage coming in hot from Stafford, Virginia. Let me help you out. Most of y'all don't know what that is. Fredericksburg, I'll see if you know what that is. That is a hamlet in between Washington, D.C. and Richmond Metro, just north of Fredericksburg, which is where Pete is. I mean, Pete operates in the whole area, but where he operates is sort of an exurb of Washington, D.C. You can tell that by the average sale prices. And then when you get south of Fredericksburg, that is more an exurb of Richmond, Virginia. Pete does operate in the same area, so he has a big swing. in different loan sizes and properties, depending on really where he's looking. So he's a great loan officer to have on here. He's not all jumbo, all high conventional. He does everything. And Pete is also a veteran of the Marine Corps. He's a retired distinguished veteran. So Pete does a lot of VA loans as well. And I don't know why, but they still seem to be a mystery for agents and for loan officers. Amazingly enough, probably one of the best and easiest loans to originate there is. And for agents, I know we went through that whole period where it was very hard to get a VA loan through because they were waiving all the contingencies. That's not necessarily the case right now, depending on where you are. And I think Pete will be one of the first people to tell you that VA loans, I think, statistically perform as well or better than almost all other loans, even if they have some stigma or pariah. Pete, tell me, when did you? What was your first year in the business? I'm trying to remember because we worked together for a while. When was it? Full time.
First full-time year in the business. You mean volume closed?
No. You don't have to tell me the volume, just the year you started, but full time.
2015.
Okay, so Pete is 9 years in 2015. He is a very, very lucky guy. Those of y'all that know me, he's unfortunately had to be listening to me for a long time. So Pete has really ramped his business up fast in a market where a lot of people didn't ramp up as quickly. Basing his whole business on relationship, not transactional, out of the gate on relational. So those of you that hear me spouting on and on all the time, that's what Pete is. Pete's job is to get referrals, is to get loans. Pete's job is not to do the loans, even though he knows how to do the loans. So when Pete's talking, that is what you all should be hearing. He's a relationship person. Agents, if you're on here, this just translates over to you, to your clients that you've sold houses to, and people in your CRM. So Pete, first of all, I just want to thank you for being on. Tell me, Pete, give me a little feel on your market just to start. Agents, what are they saying? Inventory creeping back up. Give us just a little overview on that, on the psychology piece with your agent partners.
Yeah, I think there's a trend towards the market picking up more north than south. We've had a pretty good steady flow of first-time buyers over the course of the last 6 months or so, but really starting in February through the first part of April, things picking up. For me personally, the last couple of weeks haven't been as dynamic as what we were seeing, for probably about 6 weeks there. It is strange that where interest rates go, it seems the amount of activity is almost following that curve, to the T. I hope that's not the case, but the last week or so has slowed as far as activity. But there are people that are still doing multiple offers. There are people escalating, 20, 30,000 over for, Northern Virginia, 5, 10,000 over more towards Richmond and the lower price houses. Agents are real nervous about DOJ. I did a class today, and the only thing I mentioned to them is if you have value, your value will be known, and it's just another thing of friction. So I've been encouraging agents through that is buyers are going to get what they pay for in the future, just like they do now. And if you have value and you're good, we'll have market shifts up and down. Obviously, buyers markets, sellers markets which will impact their commission as they tend to, even if we didn't have DOJ. But I just reiterate to my agent partners that they have value to me. I talk about when they're not there and we have to do a for sale by owner and what a pain it is to do that, and that we suffer, title suffers, the buyers and sellers suffer. So I just kind of focus on the value that they currently have, that they're getting paid what they deserve, and they will continue to get paid what they deserve, and let the friction be friction, and accomplish the mission as we as Marines do, and don't let the noise get in your way. So that's kind of been my focus is in that regard. I know you said we're not going to talk about it, but I just
I was going to try not to eat up the whole. I know it's a popular subject, but it's you could go for 4 hours on it, or you could do the 2-minute cap synopsis of, okay, basically what you said. Hey, you should always be. It's like it's the agents that, Pete, that actually say this. Oh, you should use me. I'm free. I mean, that's complete insanity. Those agents that say that are going to have a very hard time in the new world. Very, very hard time in the new world. You want to put it in a nutshell, Pete? You just say that, watch their face, and some of them will admit, I've said that before. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not what's going on. You should not be saying that. You are not free. Pete, tell me about, are the agents in your market, are they bullish on new listings coming up? Are they talking about having appointments for new listings? What are you hearing on that front?
I think a lot of agents are still just nervous. They're seeing a little bit of a pickup, but they're nervous. Is it temporary? Is it here to stay? I think the trend, I've been trying to stay positive with them and let them know it is coming. It's just a matter of when and the rate of change, and to be ready to be on the front end of it, just like we are with our clients. We have probably 150 clients in some sort of PP or BIC mode that are waiting for that magic rate, and we're staying in touch with them and staying top of mind, and letting them know, hey, the sooner you buy, the better, because once the rates come down, everybody and the brother, and for example, the 150 I got in the queue are going to come out of the woodwork, and now instead of having 7 people bid on a house, we're going to have 20 people bidding on a house. And if you can get ahead of that, sure, you might pay a couple $100 extra in interest over the next couple of months, but once everybody else is in there and drives the home prices up 8 to 12%, it's a magnitudes of tens of thousands of dollars they're going to save by buying sooner with a slightly higher interest rate, and then refinancing with all the idiots that wait the 10 months, and go buy with the 30 other people that are bidding on the house.
So you guys have heard me talk about this for over a year right now. If you've been on these calls, Pete is talking about that incredible subject that I like to call math. And do you know how to do the math? And if you don't, you really need to find someone to help you. If you're a newer loan officer, or you've only been in the business for a certain amount of time, or you've never really had to do math, there's many agents that have never done a lot of math. And math is really what's putting deals together right now. It's exactly what Pete was saying. He was saying it in a very broad way, and I'm saying it broad as well. He just threw out some quick numbers, as in, do the math. Take a minute and do the math. Buy a $400,000 house today at an interest rate of 7%. Buy a house for $470 at an interest rate of 6%. Do the math. The math is better for you to buy the house today. For some reason, most consumers don't understand that, and many of the agents are not great at explaining it. And Pete, the other piece about the NAR, I know we said we weren't going to go deep on it, is, but for the people here, because I want them to hear what you're saying between the lines a little bit. This is a massive opportunity for very good loan officers. Whatever happens with NAR, this is a huge opportunity for very good loan officers. Very bad loan officers are going to be gone, and agents that cannot explain their worth and not exactly how Pete put it. You can put it a bunch of different ways. Cannot explain their value to clients. They will be gone as well. By the way, that doesn't mean there'll be less people buying houses. There's still going to be the same amount of people buying houses. There's just going to be less loan officers to do those loans, which is great. And there's going to be less agents to sell those people houses, which is great as well. So this is a really, really, really big opportunity. Pete, tell us, what kind of things are you doing in the field right now? Keeping your head in the game. What are you doing every day in the field? STP, seeing the people. Tell them what your daily, weekly activities are right now to keep those referrals coming in.
Yeah, I today is a great example, because the day started early with me having to get some admin done, because I had my first meeting with an agent at 9 a.m. this morning. Taught a class, basically, tools actually the name of the class was how to run your professional life as if you had brain damage, and basically how to use calendars, how to use, checklists, stuff like that, things that I do just by nature of being a Marine and a pilot. And then I had a 12 o'clock lunch. Here I am with you all at 1, and I have a 4 o'clock meeting with a client, and drinks after that with an agent. So trying to use the whole day, because lunches aren't always the best time. Breakfast, I got a breakfast on Thursday with an agent because he's an early riser. So take advantage of the breakfast. And those meetings, quite frankly, tend to be more productive than the lunches. I don't know why, but you seem to be more focused at breakfast and more carefree at lunch. And it's all about relationship. But I don't know, something about people that operate in the morning and tend to be a little more focused and driven and like-minded, I guess.
I think it's factual, Pete. I don't think I've met anyone, with the exception of someone that works in a business where you have opposite hours, where you're working all night or whatever. I just haven't met anyone that knocked the cover off the ball, that are not up in the morning doing stuff. And I don't mean you have to be up at 4 a.m., but I mean up doing stuff in the morning. And I agree with you. The breakfast B2B, by the way, those of you that are doing B2Bs, you Joel people on here, the breakfast B2B, the people that will agree to a breakfast B2B, that is the bomb.com. Those are the people that are usually the most laser focused every time. And I'm sure you all are too, because you've gotten up and you've knocked a bunch of stuff out off your plate that either happened the night before or maybe happened first thing in the morning. Pete, share with these people a little bit. It's amazing when I talk to people just about VA. Pete, we've talked about this before. I just want to just quickly say, it doesn't matter whether you have a base or something military related anywhere near you. In fact, it doesn't even matter at all. What matters is how many people near you have eligibility for a VA loan. I mean, you could be in a state in the middle of nowhere with no bases, but there's 100,000 people with okay, that was awesome. Did you guys, anyone just see a guy walk across the camera with no shirt on? That was awesome. We were about to have a moment right there. I don't know who that was. Pete, you saw that, huh? So anyway, everyone listen to that loud and clear. You don't have to have a base in your backyard. Okay, there's people with VA eligibility in all 50 states, everywhere. And some of the states, Pete, have tons of veterans in them with no bases, anything nearby, correct? They just happen to live there, whether the cost of living is lower or whatever. Pete, give people some good, if they don't really deal with that market, if their agents don't really deal with that market, what would be a good way, from a niche perspective? What are some things to get going and really start doing some VA loans or selling some houses to people with eligibility?
Well, the first stop is always with the agent, because there seems to be more misinformation on VA than there is actually knowledge of VA. So taking the time to put together some slides and really just going over the bones of a VA loan, what are common misconceptions about VA loans. For example, probably the most common misconception is, oh, I've already used my VA loan. I can't tell you the number of veterans that told me, oh yeah, I used my VA loan. What do you mean? Yeah, 10 years ago, I bought a house with a VA loan, so I don't have it anymore. So, and there's agents that think that. So I think educating realtors is step one. Put together a VA class, even if you don't think you're a VA expert. Believe me, there's a lot of VA idiots out there. So just knowing a little bit about VA and dispelling the rumors is important. Letting people know that they can have two VA loans at the same time, I think, is important. Being present in the community. So I always tell people to be active and do things that you like. Obviously, I like doing things that are in and around military events or programs or charities. Most recently, we got involved with Leashes of Valor. It's a national nonprofit that we were able to help out and help fund some things for them. But that's a network. That's a network of a whole bunch of veterans coming and going. And, being active in the community around veterans programs and participating. If you don't have any money, participate with time and effort, and then when you have resources, give money, to things that you believe in, and be one of those key sponsors. Not, hey, here, I'm giving money, send me loans, but things that you're legitimately care about or concerned about, be present, be involved in. And I think the business side of that kind of takes care of itself.
Pete, give I don't know how many of y'all know this. You probably kind of know it. You might have forgotten it during COVID, but something monumental happened with VA in January, right before COVID, which amazingly is 4 years ago now. But that is, they got rid of the max loan amount.
Yeah.
And And I used to have agents tell me all the time, I'd be going around the country, yeah, Joel, we don't do VA. Our houses are too much here. I'm like, okay, do you read the paper? Like, do you have any, like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? There's no max loan amount. There's different LTVs based on the size of the property, but you're sadly misinformed. Pete, talk about that. Talk about a couple of things that people just don't know. Maybe even Tidewater. I mean, maybe even Tidewater, the appraisal stuff. I mean, I'd love you to just share some tactical things. It's amazing. There are a lot of people on here that would love to hear that literally don't even understand that. They might have heard the misconceptions and bought into them themselves.
Right, right. And so that max loan is a big thing. And a lot of people think there's a better loan than a VA for a veteran. And quite frankly, there's only one. I've probably run 50,000 different scenarios for people. So now I just try to say, just trust me, there's no better loan than a VA. There's only one exception, and that would be for somebody that has to pay the funding fee on a refinance, a cash out refinance, and they got lots of equity in the house. They might do better on a conventional loan, because if they got to pay that big VA funding fee, that's the only time. Every other time, the best loan for a veteran is the VA loan. They can do second tier entitlements. That's where you can use the county limit and do the math and formula to figure out the percentage of VA loan that they still have available. Even if it's then nowhere close to 100% of the purchase price, this still might turn out to be the best loan, because their other option is a 5% conventional, and they can be 4% down on a VA loan, or maybe they were planning on putting 20% down anyway. So okay, let's do it on a VA loan. Your funding fee is going to be reduced. A lot of people don't know that as you do 5% down, the funding fees reduce by about 50%, and it goes down about another 10% when you put 10% down. So that's something a lot of people lose track on. On appraisals, be an advocate for the veteran. And this is where sometimes the VA screws it up. And being a veteran and disabled vet myself, I have to remind the VA, hey, who do you work for? Do you work for yourself, or do you work for the veteran? And with appraisals, for example, if your client, the veteran, is experienced a hardship because of a VA policy, you could probably have a conversation with somebody at the VA and get around that. One thing on low VA appraisals, if there is a comp that's at the purchase price of the one your buyer is buying, a lot of times you can make a case to the VA regional office, write a letter, say, hey, you're creating a hardship for me. This is the veteran now talking. You're creating a hardship for me by this low appraisal. There's this comp number 3 on the appraisal. It's at the same price or even higher than the price of the house I'm purchasing. Please reconsider adjusting the value of the home, and the VA directly will adjust that value for them, so they don't have to either lose the contract, pay an appraisal gap, etc. So that's something that a lot of folks don't know, that you can continue that appeal process even if a Tidewater was called. And the Tidewater is obviously when they get an opportunity, the buyer and seller agents get an opportunity to provide comps to the appraiser when they're having trouble meeting value before the appraisal comes in. So those are just a few things. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Joel, but
yeah. What else, Pete? Is there anything else that's common misconception that's BS regarding VA loans? Whether it's something someone can take away from this call and share with their listing agent partners. There's agents on here listening.
There's one, especially during COVID, when the following, as COVID was winding down, when we had the real competitive market in 21, first part of 22. Some markets, and I do think if they had a less dense military population, they were more inclined to do this. And that was to discriminate against veterans by saying that their appraisal is going to be, a lower value or whatever. And so a lot of times I would get on the phone with the listing agents and just educate them about, hey, guess what? It's the same guy that has the qualification for the conventional loan. It does the VA appraisal, and the likelihood of you getting a lower value because it's a VA loan is slim to none. It's going to be the same guy. Yeah, there's different guidelines. There's different things that come into play. But the other thing is they're like, well, they're going to hit us with all sorts of repairs. I'm like, okay, is your house falling apart? Is there anything unsafe in it? They're not going to make you, paint the walls or, put in new carpet. But if you got something unsafe or something that's a hazard, then fix it, or let the veteran that's buying your house fix it for you. So a lot of times in those markets, a lot of agents would discriminate against a good VA offer. And I think it's out of ignorance a lot of times.
Yeah. So I would, as a takeaway, everyone, I would talk to your partners and ask them what they know about VA financing, even if it's something you would never talk about. It's a good way to differentiate yourself. Like I said, I don't know who it was, Pete. I had him on a podcast. I don't who was saying about how many veterans there were in each different state that had eligibility. I mean, the numbers were staggeringly high. I mean, all over the place. And then as you network with the agents in those areas, most of them know nothing about it unless they're married to someone in the military or they're married to a veteran. They don't even deal with it. They know nothing about it. There's maybe no base there. There's nothing going on. And I just look at it as a massive untapped market in a way to differentiate yourself, even if it's just through knowledge, through as Pete was saying, educate, as spilling some knowledge with your partners to help them move forward. Pete, one more thing I want to talk about before I'm looking at the clock. The number one thing that brokers have been telling me over the past year, when I say broker, I don't mean a real estate broker per se. I mean the broker of record in the office. So maybe the REMAX owner, the OP and a KW, the owner of an EXP office, is that they feel that their agents are losing a lot of opportunities with potential deals because their agents are not trained well enough to overcome the objections coming from the buyers. The big ones are rates are too high, I can't move. The other next one is I have a 3% rate, I can't sell my house and move. And number three, even if I did, there's nothing for me to move to. Most agents, Pete, would say to me, those are the big three that they hear all the time. And, Pete does a very good job with his partners at teaching his partners how to get these people to him very, very, very quickly, so he can step in and really do that job. As loan officers right now, you should be very busy right now. You should need hot water with lemon and honey at the end of the day, because you should be very busy talking to a lot of people. Email and texting are dead. You actually have to talk to them. Pete, what are some of the things you do with your partners? I'm looking at the clock, everyone, so I apologize. We're a little over. With your partners, Pete, with actually helping them, teaching them how to get their people to you expeditiously. What could you share with this group? You're very good at that. So you can do that pre-qual and connect with those people.
Yeah, I don't let them say I gave your number to somebody. So I'm always going to push that into send me a text introduction, an email introduction, because then it's in my system and I'm going to track them. And I explain to the agent why that's in their best interest. Because if they're just giving names, they have no idea when that person's going to engage with whatever loan officer. So I make sure that they know to actually introduce me so I can put them into either my text system, my email system, get them on my calendar, and get them on the phone. So that's probably the key thing.
Did you give your agent partners the email to use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I have an email intro that I send them. I give them a text intro that they can use. Very few use it. Most just say, hey, they forget about it or whatever. The ones that have breakfast with me are the ones that will do exactly what I told them to do.
Okay.
It's there, it's
Okay.
done. And they do the intro and then they know what
Everybody hear that? Okay. Your agent partners would prefer that. It's easier for them. Just give it to them. Let them cut and paste it and put a name in. It's literally, they would prefer, if I had 20 agents on here, every one of them would say, yes, please, let me have that. None of them would say no. Go ahead, Pete. I don't know where you were going after that. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh yeah, and I know we're out of time, but having events with the agents, like veterans love free food. If you don't believe me, on Veterans Day, go to any restaurant in the evening and it'll be packed with veterans because different restaurants give free meals. So doing veteran appreciation events is good on those key days, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. I like doing first time buyer seminars with the agents, and basically the agent just shows up, but we close a first time buyer. That buyer puts together a group of 10 couples at whatever place they want to go to, whatever their venue is. We feed them, we give them drinks, and I come in and I just talk to them about first time buyer stuff, throw a few kudos out to the agent, and there we have. So first time buyer seminars has been really good over the last year.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So we are out of time. Everyone, this is a solid loan officer who does a lot of purchase transactions, who built his business the correct way based on relationships. We didn't have a ton of time to get into everything, but it's Pete Griffin, Movement Mortgage. Very easy to find on social media. And Pete is a good guy. If you have any questions, I'm sure you can send him an email or any way you want to connect, and he'd be glad to answer. So, Pete, thank you very much. Everyone, let's kick some ass. Let's go. Talk to everyone in 2 weeks. See y'all later. Thank you, Pete.